Good evening and thank you for joining us. The Competition Commission is further cracking down on syndicates suspected of bid rigging over building maintenance contracts. They were allegedly involved in projects across 28 housing estates and buildings with a total contract value of $500 million. It's understood a syndicate also colluded on bids for the fire-hit project at Wanful Court in Tai Po. During the operation, authorities raided 12 sites, including the offices of 4 contractors and the residences of the suspects. The Competition Commission says during the first round of crackdown in January this year, the watchdog discovered a suspicious phone message conversation indicating the presence of another hidden bid rigging syndicate. A contractor which was not previously investigated allegedly used intermediaries to reach out to other contractors during a housing estate's tendering process to coordinate their submission of cover-up tenders. But some of these contractors had allegedly been approached by another contractor to collude on bids for the same project. It later came to light that the contractor involved was allegedly engaged in anti-competitive practices across multiple projects, including handing other contractors so-called homework during the tendering process, meaning they provided bid price instructions to manipulate the outcome of tenders. The suspected bid rigging group is understood to have been operating over the past 3 years. It had also taken part in a tender for the Wanful Court renovation project in Tai Po. This firm, alongside Prestige Construction and another contractor that was exposed in an earlier crackdown, are among the 3 groups that had attempted to secure a share of the Tai Po project. The 28 projects involved are spread throughout 12 districts across Hong Kong. Some contracts had already commenced or completed before the probes. In the first round of crackdown earlier this year, the Competition Commission investigated 14 contractors and consultancy firms over suspected bid rigging work across 9 districts. The contracts involved were estimated to be worth around $700 million. The government deploys about 1,000 civil servants from more than 20 departments to take part in a drill to test public transport connectivity at the Hong Kong port area of Huanggang Port. Sources say the drill involves civil servants taking multiple public transports from different districts to the port area. Musin reports.
Yunnan Interchange, a group of civil servants wait for B11, a new KMB bus route that will travel between Tin Shui Wai and the Hong Kong port area of Huanggang Port. 2 buses have been deployed for some 200 civil servants to ride as part of the drill. Before hopping on, passengers must show a traffic card and their HKID card for registration. At around noon, the first bus departed, while the second bus followed suit 20 minutes later. At around 12:30 p.m., the first batch of KMB buses and a few taxis arrived at the port. Police were on hand in the area to supervise the traffic. Civil servants get off at the 2nd floor of the building and proceed to the 4th and 5th floor. They then return to the 2nd floor and take buses to leave the building. On social media, Security Secretary Chris Tan describes the drill as mostly smooth. The authorities identified several issues during the process, including direction signs not being clear enough. Tan says they have noted down the problems and will follow up. It is understood that the government will conduct 3 more drills in the following weeks. Some 20,000 civil servants will participate in the largest drill. Moments 9, TVB News.
Amid blistering weather conditions, the heat stress at work warning remains at the lowest amber level. This as 2 former heads of the observatory urged the Labour Department to update the heat warning and adopt the wet bulb globe temperature system. Some in the labour sector also notes the importance of raising awareness among workers about taking breaks. Timothy Lee has more.
Hong Kong continues to bake under the sun as several areas across the city recorded temperatures surpassing 34 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Weather authorities have recorded temperatures of 33 degrees or above for 9 consecutive days, breaking previous records in August. Owing to the effects of a southwest airflow, Hong Kong is also set to experience heavier rainfall while temperatures gradually drop. The city will see some of the heaviest thunderstorms and strong gusts between tonight and Friday. As Hong Kong's heat stress work warning remained at the lowest amber level throughout the last few days, two former directors of the observatory took the opportunity to urge the Labor Department to adjust the current system. Li Bunying and Shen Qiming say the Labor Department's heat stress work warning rolled out in 2023 primarily targets those who work outdoors. But they stress the system's pairing with the heat index rolled out in 2014 is a mistake. Li says the index's purpose is to determine whether more people will enter the hospital owing to the weather, adding it is incompatible with the heat stress at work warning. The pair also criticized the bar for upgrading the warning for being too high and essentially ineffective, and echo fellow ex-observatory director Lam Chiu-ying's call for the heat warning to adopt the wet bulb globe temperature system. This as some lawmakers also share their thoughts on raising workers' awareness for rest during such weather conditions. Lawmaker Lee Kuang-yew says the labor sector should encourage workers to stay vigilant about injuries and other health conditions they could potentially suffer when working in the heat for too long. He proposes items such as fans and other products for preventing heat stroke should be placed in the same locations as hard hats. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Welcome back. According to sources briefed on the matter, a threat that Air Force One could be targeted by a shoulder-fired missile prompted the U.S. Secret Service to secretly move U.S. President Donald Trump onto a smaller government jet during a trip to Turkey last month. During the same trip, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent were among those who flew out of Turkey on Air Force One, raising questions as to whether they acted as decoys. Daniel Rao has the story.
The sources say the threat emerged on the final day of US President Donald Trump's visit to Ankara for a NATO summit amid heightened tensions with Iran. They add the US Secret Service deemed the threat to be credible and imminent, prompting an extraordinary operation to conceal Trump's movements. The sources declined to say where the intelligence came from, but say officials had little time to prepare and devised the plans at the last minute. The sources say there was not a clear plan by those hostile to Trump for executing the threat, but only an intent, which is why the planes were allowed to fly. There is speculation the threat may have been from a new type of heat-seeking missile that homes in on hot aircraft engines and has become an increasing concern for military planners. They are harder to detect than traditional radar-guided threats and can come out of nowhere because they don't send out detectable radio waves. On board the Air Force One jet, now seen as a decoy, were U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who the sources say was briefed on the maneuver, as well as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung, and a number of other aides, plus the typical press pool. The sources say White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scavino, Executive Assistant Natalie Harp, and Director of Oval Office Operations Walt Notter made the move in the catering truck with Trump. Some media commentators and lawmakers have questioned whether the operation left Trump's aides and journalists traveling with him at risk aboard the plane presumed to be carrying the US president. Dan Rao, TV News.
Stingray incidents have spiked on many beaches in Southern California thanks to a marine heat wave that are drawing more rays as well as swimmers to the shore. Ray sting, as their name suggests, when they are stepped on, and the pain can be severe.
This stingray is called a round stingray, and its way of avoiding predators is burying in the sand, so you can't see them. So if you're out there jumping around playing in the surf and you step on one, they'll reflectively flick their tail up and you get nailed. See that?
Two state beaches near Huntington Beach report more than 3,100 incidents so far this year, twice the number for all of 2025. In June, officials confirmed the formation of an El Niño, the natural warming of parts of the Central Pacific that alters weather worldwide, that is expected to grow to historic strength. Millions of people gather across cloudless cities and towns in Europe in search of the best views of the solar eclipse, when the alignment of the sun, moon, and earth briefly plunge parts of the planet into darkness. In Spain, the only country which saw a total solar eclipse, many come together to witness the once-in-a-century phenomenon. Tracy Furness has more.
People gather on hillsides to watch the solar eclipse near Port de Solia on the Spanish island of Majorca, some setting up telescopes for a better view. In Sevilla, Spain, people gather and put on protective glasses to view the solar eclipse safely. A total eclipse occurs when the moon completely covers the sun and reveals its outer atmosphere, or the corona, which lasted roughly a minute for Spain's viewers. Plunging this part of Spain into darkness during the day, it was the country's first total solar eclipse in more than a century.
No sé si mi última vez, pero
35-year-old Geronimo Gascon says, "It was my first time. I don't know if it will be my last, but it was an overwhelming experience. I was expecting something special, but when you actually experience it, it's incredible." Beachgoers in Portugal watched too as the sun, moon and earth briefly aligned, plunging the planet into darkness.
The sun is always worth celebrating. I mean, every sunset, but this is particularly one to dance to and to celebrate in all its entirety.
Hundreds of people gathered in Paris to watch the eclipse at the André Citroën Park in the southwestern neighbourhood of the capital. Volunteers distributed free solar protection glasses.
So we are the French Astronomical Association, so I work as a volunteer here for tonight. The thing is, we are distributing a maximum of those glasses as possible to avoid any damages on the eyes. Even though the sun will be pretty low, it's still dangerous to look at the sun directly during the eclipse. So we want to make sure everyone is safe and can enjoy the eclipse tonight.
At the Hallgrímskirkja church in Reykjavik, Iceland, people gathered for the best views of the eclipse.
I'm an employee of the University of Iceland, and most of our offices were closed down early today, so that basically we could go home and enjoy the eclipse. Although the weather is not the best, but we still hope to see something, so we're out here.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A private hospital launches a subsidized program through a charitable foundation to provide heart surgery for underprivileged elderly patients, with 30 slots available in the first phase. Celine Chan has more.
87-year-old Mrs. Khan was admitted to hospital earlier this year following a stroke. Doctors at a public hospital diagnosed she required heart surgery, but the wait time for a slot at the public hospital would be long. A private hospital quoted between $800,000 to $1 million for the procedure, leaving both her and her daughter deeply anxious. Her daughter recounts hearing her mother's labored breathing beside her at night, how the experience was profoundly distressing. At the time, she felt if no other option emerged, she would have to use her retirement savings to prolong her mother's life. Mrs. Khan subsequently received financial support and underwent surgery in late February and has since made a full recovery. The subsidy was provided by the Hong Kong Adventist Hospital Foundation Stubbs Road, which received a donation of $5 million from Michael Kadori to launch a subsidy scheme for heart valve and structural heart disease. Eligible applicants who pass a means test may see up to 80% of surgical costs subsidized, while comprehensive Social Security assistance recipients are eligible for full coverage.
Dr.
Boren Chang, a cardiology specialist, says self-financed items at public hospitals, which primarily refers to the cost of medical devices, can easily amount to $200,000 to $300,000. If 80% of the cost is subsidized for these treatments at private hospitals, patients would pay roughly the same amount out of pocket as they would at public hospitals. The scheme is currently in its pilot phase and will officially launch on the 1st of next month. In its initial stage, it is expected to provide subsidy to approximately 30 eligible underprivileged patients to receive treatment. Celine Chan, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.